Good morning and welcome to ISPA's Reopening Town Hall number 9, Reopening Success Stories. We're going to wait a few minutes so you guys can get all logged in, and we'll start in just a moment. Hello and welcome to another edition of the ISPA Reopening Town Hall series. Thank you so much for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are on the planet. Today, our conversation will focus around reopening success stories. We have another excellent crew of panelists who will share their reopening insights and experiences with us today. And I've been so looking forward to this conversation because we're going to take a positive look at our industry today with these fantastic panelists. But before we start, I do want to have a great big thank you and express our gratitude to Cosmetic and Sonoma Lavender for their generous support of this town hall. And near the end of our time today, we'll be giving away some fantastic products that they have provided, so make sure that you stay with us until the very end. Okay, so before we start our conversation, a few housekeeping items that we have to take care of, as you guys know. So we do record this conversation, so if you have to come back later or you want to watch it again, we'll have it on YouTube and on Facebook Live for you to see at a later date and time. Also, we want your participation in this conversation, so please use your chat function at the bottom of your Zoom and send us questions, which we will answer and work in. Also on Facebook Live, we take your questions also, so be a part of this conversation. And finally, we have brought in different directors from different locations, different states, different cities, so that we can have a diversity of opinion and a diversity of conversation and thought, which is what we want to have, a broad spectrum view of what's happening in our industry. Okay, great. So we're going to start our conversation now. I'm going to start with you, Livia, on our very first question. We've gotten lots of positive feedback about the flexibility of our staff during this time. Can you share with us an example of how your staff has adapted positively under the new normal of reopening?
Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. And I just wanted to say I am so pleased to be on this call with everyone today. It's really exciting to hear about all of our spas that are reopening and welcoming guests. And my name again is Livia Reddington. I'm with Montage Palmetto Bluff. We are located in Bluffton, South Carolina. Our spa is 13 treatment rooms plus our salon and fitness center, making up about 13,000 square feet. And so we just reopened on June 4th. So we're going on our second month of reopening, and the response from our team has been absolutely amazing. The positive mindset that everyone has come back to work with has just been really refreshing. It's almost like a reset opportunity for everyone to get together and put our heads together and navigate this new normal together. So people are, really open to the communications. We've been, putting a lot on their plates as far as navigating new changes, new policies, protocols. And it's just really been, the channels of communication, keeping them open, sharing the why behind what we're doing to really get the buy-in and the understanding, and people really jump on board. They're happy to be here, and we're really seeing people step outside of their day-to-day roles to help in all areas of operation, which has been a really great bonding opportunities for our team.
That's great. That's great. And pure transparency, Livia and I do work together for Montage. So thank you for being here today, Livia. Shane, coming to you, the exact same question. How is your staff adapting in a positive way to this new normal?
Just before I go into that, Shane Kelly, I'm the spa director here at the JW in San Antonio Hill Country. We have 30 rooms plus a nail suite, and then we're probably about 25,000 square feet. obviously very efficiently utilized with that 30-room capacity. Really tough to follow what Olivia said. I think she hit it right on the head. I think the team is re-energized with a new appreciation for the fact that we're open and the guests still want to come to us and feel safe coming to us. And really, to be honest, it's that appreciation that willingness to come back to work is really driving them through their day-to-day. We've obviously kept them very busy in the first upcoming weeks, and they've really just grasped it by full horn and really just gone along with any changes and adaptations that we make on a weekly basis.
And did you bring back your full team in the beginning, or did you bring back a select few of associates? How did that work for you?
We did not. We were very, very, very conservative to see what the demand would be, and also that we could do it safely. So we were probably only at about 25% of what we initially had when we went into the closure. We still have not brought back skincare and body treatments, and some of our amenities are still closed too, but I'm sure we'll get to that in later questions.
And so the 25% who came back, was part of that process the people you felt could adapt most easily to this current situation that we were in?
It wasn't. It was actually, being a corporate environment, it was very structured and who we were allowed to bring back based on their seniority with the company.
That's great. That's great. So you got a good 25% back with those senior people, which is great.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Viviana, coming to you. Tell us where you're from, how long you've been open, a little bit about your spa there in Toronto.
Thank you, Patrick. So I am working with the Four Seasons in Toronto, and we open in stages. So we open first for the residents at the beginning of July, and then open to the public on July 10th. Our spa is also pretty big. We have around 30,000 square feet. We have 16 treatment rooms. We have the fitness center, indoor pool, and also the salon with 4 manicure and pedicure stations, and also 2 hair stations. So it's a beautiful large facility.
That's great. What were the positive aspects of your team coming back? How did they embrace the new normal that we're working in right now?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's pretty much similar to what Livia and Shane just shared. I was a little bit nervous in seeing how they will come back because of the new norm, everything, all the procedures that we have implemented, and coming back to work, and the spa industry is really hands-on industry, but everybody was so positive and so genuinely happy to be here to help, and there was no roles. I didn't see like, oh, I'm a therapist and this is only what I have to do, or I'm in reception and I don't help anything else. Like, they were willing to move into roles and help in other areas, and it was this sense of really like a team effort to make sure that once we're back, we remain back. So everybody is holding each other accountable. They were a lot more flexible because, as Shane has, also I have seniority here. So we have to change the schedule. Our spa used to be open from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. And we reopened with reduced hours. So we have, right now our operational hours are from 10 a.m. until 6. So we have to change a little bit the schedule, and there is no complaints. Everybody is happy with even proactive and saying, hey, can I change these? Maybe we can do that. Like, it's such a beautiful energy to be back and to see the team happy and with great willingness to cooperate. So I think everybody, as I say, is just grateful to be back and enjoy and understand that our spa success is a team effort. And that's definitely what I can sense and feel in each of the participants for sure.
And how would you, I know this may be a bit hard to quantify because we can't measure it on a P&L statement, but how would you quantify that positive attitude in terms of the performance? Because I know your spa has been busy because you have a very strong local community that supports your spa. But how do you think the positive return of your associates has contributed to the success of your business?
Great question. I think it's like when you go to a place and you feel welcome, you want to go back to that place. And I don't have right now in front of me the return ratio of guests since we reopened, but we have seen a lot of the return guests coming back, even 2 or 3 times already since we reopened. So I think that is what is saying that the guests are feeling the team is happy. And also for the guests, for the other colleagues as well. Like they come in, and I notice the difference. Before, there was a little bit more complaints and a little bit more like, oh yeah, I can do that. Now there is no that. Like they're like, sure, how can I help? And they are getting along much better with each other. So yes, as you say, it's hard to quantify, but it's giving results.
I'm going to stay with you a little bit on this too, Viviana, because I think one thing that you seem to have done quite well as the leader is to foster that positive spirit. So what steps did you take to do that? How did you approach your associates to elicit that response from them?
I think, thank you. I think one of the qualities that I discovered the most as a leader being away is how much I miss that contact with them. So I created these voluntarily calls. Thanks God for Zoom. So we did a lot of Zoom calls, and it was like, if you want to join, come and join, you know. And at the end, I reach out to vendors and say, hey, you know, we're kind of starting to reopen, and I want to keep the team engaged because I'm starting to give very important information. So I want them to be part of the calls. Would you mind giving us something that I can kind of ruffle among the team in the calls? And so some of the vendors start doing that. And that created even more like interest on the calls. And in the call, in these calls, we were sharing like, okay, this is what is happening, this is what is changing, this is what we can do. And also that sense of community is like, guys, we are all responsible for the safety of our spa. So it's not like the spa director is looking at me now, I have to put the mask. It's like, this is the right thing to do, right? And so I think that really helped. Those calls that we had at the beginning, kind of making it fun and relax. Some of us, like sometimes they were in pajamas and we were like drinking something, like it was fun. We tried to make it fun.
That's great. And I love that you did a raffle and really engaged your resource partners for such a very important part of the success of our industry.
Oh my God, yes.
To do that. So that makes me very happy to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, coming to you with the same question, examples of how your team adapted positively to the time we're in.
Thank you, Patrick. And hello to all of my colleagues around the country as well, and across the Lake Ontario over in Toronto, Viviana. So I am at the spa at the Del Monte in Rochester, New York. We're with a part of the Marriott Renaissance brand. However, our spa really focuses on more of a day spa factor. We rely very, very little on the hotel occupancy for spa business. So probably 95% of our business is day spa driven. So very different from the hotels that are on the panel here. We have 14 treatment rooms. We have a full service hair salon. We have 6 hairstyling stations. So we do color and cuts and the whole 9 yards, manicure, pedicure, facials, and massages. We reopened late May and the beginning of June. And also, by the way, I am new to my position. I started as the spa director less than a month ago on, excuse me, on July 7th. So I had the good fortune of following a very well organized spa director previous to my arrival that really did all of the pre-opening work for me. Thank you. And really set the team up for success. So I had come into a well-functioning, well-oiled machine, which is great. As far as the positive feedback and just the flexibility of the employees, one of the things that I have found is that I feel like everybody has been really flexible with their schedule. Unlike some spas where your hours have been shortened, we've actually expanded our hours. We were open originally pre-COVID from 10 to 7 typically. We are now open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the primary reason for that is because we have to build in that extra time for cleanup after every service, therefore less services, therefore less guests that can be accommodated. We expanded those hours so that we can make sure that we can get to all of our guests as best as we possibly can. And with those expanded hours, we've had kind of an AM and a PM shift. So the team has really had to be very flexible there. Which I would say 95% of them are totally on board with it. Of course, there's always a couple, but that's okay. So it's worked out quite well for us.
So you're doing a little differently from what I've heard from other operators on these calls the past, where you're working extended hours.
Yes.
So impact the number of associates that you brought back, the number of therapists. How does that impact your occupancy in your treatment rooms right now?
So in New York State, we're able to occupy work at 50% occupancy. So we've got 6 pedicure stations. So we only have 3 pedicure stations running at a time, 3 hair stations, etc. For massage therapists, the same thing. Typically 4, 5, or 6, just depending on if we have someone in doing waxing on that particular day. So we're really able to kind of have a morning shift and an evening shift so that we have potentially 3 pedicures going on from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. all day long. All of my nail techs, all of the hairstylists are back and off of furlough. I do have a couple of massage therapists that are still on furlough. And unfortunately, all but 2 of my estheticians are still on furlough because in New York State, we're not able to do any services where the mask has to be removed. So, but I do have a very creative idea coming hopefully next week to work around that, the non-facial facial. Wait to hear more about that. So I think just overall, what I have found is just that flexibility in scheduling has been a positive thing. And also just the ability to adapt to change, which I think is really the hardest thing for so many people is, oh my gosh, there's change. And it's not just change now, but it's like every day, every week, there's some sort of change. And everybody has been really flexible and they understand that what's happening today may not happen tomorrow, or it might be a little bit different tomorrow.
You know, one thing that you all alluded to, which I think, you know, I take notes on these conversations with the panelists because you have great things to say, but it seems what creates that positive environment for our therapists and our associates and our attendants and receptionists to come back is that we organized as the leaders when they walk in so that they feel confident, secure in the direction and the guidance that we're giving. But also, you all 4 mentioned about being flexible and adaptable, which I think is going to be, those are going to, the organizing, the flexibility, the adaptability will be the key words as we keep moving forward into this unknown era. And the more that we can be organized leaders, the more we get the benefits of having a positive response from our teams. And that's really important to highlight for our associates and our attendees on the call today. Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. Livia, to you with this question. Again, what is the policy or practice that you put into place that you feel has had the most positive impact on your business?
I would have to say, hands down, mask wearing from day one for our entire team as well as our guests during their spa experience. And this is part of our peace of mind commitment. It is a guest-facing commitment that anyone has access to on our website, but also that our team reviews at the point of every reservation or any interaction with a guest. Our peace of mind commitment has very prescriptive standards as well as health and safety protocols to ensure that we are at the highest level of compliance with what is happening with all of the CDC guidelines, state guidelines. And so as we are, taking these reservations, we're sharing with the guests all of the details. It makes the reservations calls a bit longer now. So they're finding that they spend more time on the phones going through all of these details. But we really don't want there to be any surprises when the guests arrive. We are requiring the mask through the full duration of their treatment with the exception of facials. We are taking the temperature of every guest at the point of arrival. We also are doing an online medical questionnaire form just to get ahead of any challenges so they don't arrive at the door for us. And then we have also partnered with One Medical, which has been amazing for our guests and associates. All of our team does a health certification prior to coming into their shift to make sure that they're healthy for the team as well as for our guests and residents. And so it really is a very, holistic approach as far as making sure that everybody prior to ever arriving into the spa is in a good state of health to have their services. And it's just really helped us to keep that in the forefront of everybody's mind of wearing the masks, of, just being mindful of any symptoms that you might be feeling. And, we've also been very fortunate. We've had a couple of medical companies come on property and do on-site testing for associates who would like to, do that on their own, just for their own peace of mind. So again, it just helps us to really make sure that, if people want those options as far as being able to have the COVID test just for peace of mind, or, sometimes, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when, associates, they are bound to test at some point on a property level. But it just, it allows us to react very quickly if something should happen. So, that has been really for us, just that whole health and safety from the very beginning, and just the there's really, and I think the message in that is that there's just no deviation from that. There is no exception, that these are the guidelines that we follow from the very beginning, and there are no exceptions to that.
So you use the peace of mind commitment as a way to establish what the guests can expect coming into your property before they arrive at the property. So that experience for the guest and for the associates dealing with the guest is as smooth as it can be, and that the expectation is clear that you're going to wear a mask, we're going to take your temperature, we're going to ask you not to use a steam sauna, etc. So that's setting the expectation in advance is the best way to have a positive experience for your guest and for the associates. That's great. Thank you, Livia. Livia, question for you. It comes from Jim Patrick, who's the lead therapist at the Mandarin Oriental in New York. In terms of PPE, it seems we're all using masks consistently. He's wondering, are you using face shields or goggles or gloves in your spa? Can you answer that?
Yes, thanks, Jim, for the question. All of our providers are wearing masks for all services, and then our estheticians are required to wear the face shield. And then we do have gloves as an option. So if they personally would like to wear them, or they can also, if the guest opts, or requests, we certainly have those available in every treatment room. Yes.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Olivia. Viviana, coming to you with the same question, what practice or policy have you put into place that you've seen the most positive results from?
I agree with Livia. I think the mask usage is the one that has gives both the employees and also the guests that safe feeling of coming to the spa. And as a company, as a spa director, I was very lucky to be handed out these guidelines of a program that we have that is called Lead with Care. So it's a program where we have like steps. Look, what are the phases that we're recommending to the spa? What are the PPE that is required per position? So all those guidelines really make a big difference. And I would say that something else that was very important for us was the training. So we knew these set of guidelines that were established for us and that were like preset, like it was done in advance, so we can come and have that confidence of reopening. So the training component to our team when they were coming back before reopening, and for them to understand not only what they have to do, but why, make a big difference. Like when we say, okay, you have to wear the mask, but this is the reason why, and you have to wear a face shield in different positions, and why you don't wear it in other positions, because we have the social distance. For example, as Livia was saying, my therapist, they only wear face masks. Well, all the staff in the spa wears the face mask. but my nail technicians, my hairstylists, and estheticians, which were not doing facials yet, but they will wear face shields too. So it's like understanding why in the different positions as well, they have to wear different PPE. My locker attendants, they're always wearing gloves, for example. So it was the training. I think it was the key component of all the new practices that we have now.
It just resonated for me when you talked about starting with why, because I think, we talk about that many times as a principle of leadership, but it's important that we explain to people why they're doing what they're doing. So I thank you for that. I also think, I do want to say this, with Olivia and Jennifer and Viviana and Shane, we're quite lucky to work for companies that created policies for us to open with. But I will tell you that if you are running a day spa or you don't have a company supporting your efforts as you reopen, you can go to the experienceispa.com website and find our iSpa toolkit there, and we can talk you through how to open your spa again and open your spa safely. We're all very blessed on this call to have those resources available to us. But you also can avail yourself of the knowledge of the industry and people on this call, the website, and pulling out our iSpa toolkit there. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Coming to you, Jennifer, on the same question, what policies you put in place that you've seen the most positive impact from?
I think the positive impact is that, and it doesn't sound positive, but I think it helps allay the unconscious fears that people may have, is that we are just consistent on a daily basis, that there are no exceptions to the screening. So every single day, every single employee in the spa is asked a series of 10 questions. And I haven't gotten to the point yet, but I'm sure I will very soon, that I could say it in my sleep if I wanted to. But there are many times when somebody might walk in or I'll call them usually beforehand, or they call me beforehand, and they say, oh, no to everything. And it's like, nope, I still have to ask all the questions. And I kind of say it's like the flight attendant checking you in the emergency row, that they need to physically see you say, yes, I can help, and no, I don't have any disabilities, or whatever the question is. It's the same thing in our situation, that we have to ask every single question and get them to answer that. Because occasionally I do get someone who says, yes, I have a new ache or pain, but here's the reason, and that's okay. It doesn't say that they can't come to work, but we need to know that yes, there is a yes or a no answer. So we're just being very consistent and no exceptions to that. And that's the same thing with our guests. We actually just also implemented, originally when we first opened, it was, have you been out of the country in the past 14 days? Well, here in New York State, we've actually revised our question that, have you been out of the state in the past 14 days? Because if you go to one of, I believe it's now 34 states, you now come back into New York State and are supposed to quarantine. So we are following that guideline, that if somebody lets us know that, that we're going to reschedule their appointment. And obviously we're trying to find that out as far in advance as possible. And that's actually helped the comfort level of our staff as well, to know that we are supporting them for their health and safety as well. Because there have been times where somebody has said, oh yeah, I was just in Florida, or I was just in wherever before, and it makes them very nervous, and it makes the rest of us nervous as well. So I think just that consistency to no exceptions doesn't sound positive, but it really kind of is a positive slant to it.
No, Jennifer, I think you've nailed it. In a time of so many things that are inconsistent, is what's going to help us get through this. And starting with why, that Viviana talked about, and having that expectation set in the beginning that Olivia talked about, consistency, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, setting the expectation for your guests and associates. Those are things that are going to help us get through this and survive and thrive in this. So it's a very positive statement. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Coming to you with the same question, what policy or procedure have you put into place that you see the most positive impact from?
Without sounding like a broken record, I'm going to just, again, third, I guess, or fourth now, continue with what Livia and Viviana had said. I mean, the mask ordinance that they put in place in the state when we reopened was already in existence, and it just made us, it made it easier for us to just mandate and require that this safety precaution was taken. And it made not only our guests know the expectation, but our employees feel more comfortable with coming to work every day. They knew that with that in place, that was one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. Going back to the PPE, you can choose, like I bought my team everything, that they might possibly want, and really allowed them to feel comfortable with what they wanted to wear. Obviously, the mask is the one exception. It's required with every single guest, and that's a corporate standard as well as a city and a state. But at the same time, I wanted to be over prepared, not knowing what the future held, and kind of just making sure that if my team needed something, we had it available for them. But the mask has been the biggest thing, where that was one of the first questions when I called back my first employee to say, what are we doing to not only protect them, but to also protect the guests? And when we talked about the mask, it was something that kind of eased that tension off their shoulders right off the bat.
That's great. Thank you for that. And I know in some states, they'll mandate that you have to wear a visor, or you have to wear a mask, or you have to wear gloves. So as we're giving advice here, please check with your state or your county in terms of what they require for your therapist to wear when they come back or to work. Jennifer, I want to come to you on this question. We're all making a lot of changes. We're all wearing masks. We're cutting services. We are either extending or shortening hours. What changes that you're making now will you keep post this time that we're in, that you think they're a benefit for the business overall?
We've always been, I think, in the spa industry, I know in the spa industry, we've always been very conscientious about the cleanliness and the sanitizing and the disinfection and that sort of thing. But I think the ritual of it is what will continue on. In some areas, it may not have been as much of a ritual as others. And I think in our hair salon is the one area that I find that our level of sanitation has increased quite a bit. And getting everybody just that much more aware will continue on. And I like to think of it as a ritual because, again, we try to stay positive, and I think of rituals as being positive. So definitely just the process of getting them set up in the morning, getting the hairstylist ready, getting all of their jars for their combs and brushes and their sanitizing and all that sort of thing, getting it ready for them and not always having to rely on them, because sometimes people just aren't as fastidious with it as we would like them to be. So helping them with that ritual has really been something that we've talked about will for sure continue in the future. That's probably the number one thing, is just overall that cleanliness ritual that will continue and just be of uber awareness for us.
I think we're all going to be more hypersensitive about cleaning as we move forward. Mm-hmm. We're going to be more hypersensitive about it.
Yes.
Move forward. Thank you for that, Jennifer. Livia, coming to you with the same question, but before you answer, I do want to ask you one question that's come through from Maria Laura Oliveira Khan. I hope I said that right, Maria. About, do you allow your guests to remove face shields during their massages?
No, we don't. So the guests are wearing the mask. So they are wearing it face up and face down.
And have you had any pushback from the guest on the face down aspect of wearing the mask during the massage?
Of course, a little bit but again, the percentage is so small relative to the number of treatments that we're doing. And again, it becomes education. Once you remind the guests that, the mask is for the purpose of their safety, but as well as the safety and well-being of our team, that usually, solves it right there. And if for any reason a guest is uncomfortable, we give them a moment. They can step out of the room if they need to adjust their masks, or we can provide them, with a new mask if they need it. So yes, but we, as Jennifer had mentioned, that there are no exceptions. So if a guest is not wishing to wear the mask, then we don't go forward with the service.
So, and I think, again, consistency keeps everyone safe. we don't want to confuse people. Like in this case, you can wear the mask. In this case, not wear the mask. I do know that in your spas that the guests do remove their masks for their facials. So Can you talk us through how you handle that process so that the therapist is not touching the guest mask in that situation?
Mhm. So at the end of the intake for the facial, they advise the guest to place their mask in the robe pocket because they do share with the guest that we will not be touching their personal belongings. And so at the end of the service, they have a really beautiful tray that's prepared with the sanitized bottle of water as well as a fresh mask.
That's great. So they're not touching the mask. It's solely under the guest's control. And they get a new mask at the end of that facial. That's great. So Olivia, to my original question, I got caught up with Maria's question. Are there any things you put into place that you think you want to keep post this time? Besides cleanliness, we all want to keep that. We all can agree on that. But beyond that, what else do you think you'd want to keep?
Coming back into operations, we had to take a very close look at what the presentation of our amenities looked like, both in the locker area as well as in the relaxation lounges. So we did have to scale back and really create more of a Zen environment because again, it just exemplifies that feeling of cleanliness when you don't have a lot of the clutter. But obviously the important piece of we don't want the communal, opportunities for people to be touching things that could be in contact with other guests. So we really had to remove everything from our vanity displays with the exception of hand wash and hand sanitizer. And so what we've done is, everything is available upon request. So as we're doing the orientation for the guests to the facilities, we just advise them that if there's anything that they wish to have in the way of an amenity, we will personally deliver that for them. So that's getting delivered by a locker attendant who would have a tray, and they're delivering that, of course, wearing gloves so that everything is sanitized. And so it creates a more personal experience for the guest, and the team actually enjoys it. They have more of an opportunity to speak with the guest, to see what they really need, as opposed to things just being, out on display. Another idea that you can do is you can even put a nice menu on your vanity countertop there, just so the guests do know what is available upon request. It's just a nice touch. Same thing in the way of any styling tools. We don't have those available in the facilities either. And we are still offering styling as far as flat irons and curling irons, but we are not doing no hair dryers in the actual locker facility. And then, so, just that whole personalization, I'm just asking, thinking about what we would keep going forward is just really to be able to have that personalized touch with the guests. And then also, as well as in the relaxation lounge, all of our F&B amenities are pre-packaged. So we've started to explore some really nice opportunities. There's a couple of vendors out there doing really great packaged items such as trail mixes, all kinds of dried fruits, and energy bars that are out there that are really beautiful in the packaging. They look gourmet. And then also just adding some variety on the offerings as far as beverages. We do have a refrigerator in our relaxation lounge, which we're offering some really nice organic teas in there as an alternative as well.
And Olivia, it would be great if you can share those vendors with the ISPA team, and we can post vendors that are doing really nice prepackaged food items on our website as a resource for the spa directors and spa operators on the call. That would be fantastic. You hit it on the head. We were all a little nervous, I think, about removing everything from our locker rooms, but the benefit, the positive of that is that we're now giving hand-to-hand service to our guests. In a way we've been able to up the level of treatment and of care. And I would imagine it is not added to your labor cost to have that attendant hand delivering those items to the guests, correct?
No, and they actually, because at the moment our wet areas are closed, so our Art of Spa is not open, so they don't have that added responsibility of having to attend to that area. So it allows them to spend more focus on the actual guest experience as they're preparing and completing their treatments.
Thank you. I'm going to come to you in a moment, Shane. I just want to see a show of hands. Suzanne Holbrook from Marriott has asked, is anyone offering the pillowcase drop under the face cradle as an option to the face down mask wearing? So if you are, raise your hand. Viviana, can you speak to that, to the how you make that work with the the pillowcase under the face cradle when they're face down. Can you talk us through that process, please?
So I have to be 100% honest. I was not really pro that because I've been more into the cautious side of they have to wear masks, being the safety of the therapist a priority too. But some of my therapists have come to ask permission for that because some guests are like not so comfortable. So they develop an option with the towels that they tuck under the face cradle, and they are like, oh, it's 4 layers. Like, they've been very creative. I love to see how passionate they are about service. So this is just as an exception to those that are really uncomfortable. We are not advertising it. We are definitely not promoting about this. But if somebody is uncomfortable, and I'm trusting my therapist to read the body language and also to their comfort level. So if my therapists are not comfortable doing that, they're not doing it. But if somebody is comfortable and the guest is asking that they don't feel comfortable, so what they do is that they talk like hand towels on the face cradle. Yes.
And what happens to the guest's mask? Do they take it off? Do they pull it down? What happens to the mask when they're face down?
So when they are taking it, we have a tray, similar to what Livia was doing for the facial. So we have a tray with a Kleenex, and we cover that one, and we will leave that one on the side. And when the guest is face up, we can bring the tray. We are not touching the mask, but also we have in every treatment room, we have bags with new face masks. So we offer that option to the guests if they would prefer to just go for a new one too.
That's great. Jennifer, can you talk about your process with that pillow hammock?
Yes, it's exactly what we call it, the little pillow hammock. And it's actually kind of the face cradle hammock. So it's just a little hammock that's on the underside of the face pillow. Similar to Viviana, the therapist is not touching the mask, but when the guest goes to that face down position, the guest is removing their mask. It's on a tray and then given back to the guest afterwards. So it just allows the guest to breathe comfortably when they're face down. It's hard enough to breathe face down. You know, we all know our nose gets stuffed up, and to have a mask on just makes it that much more difficult. And so that is something that we do let our guests know about in advance, that they do have to wear their mask 100% of the time while they're in the spa, as per the New York State guidelines, with the exception of during face down position in their massage.
And how do your therapists then handle the towel or the pillowcase that's under the face cradle once the guest leaves the room? I guess they're wearing gloves when they're cleaning the rooms at that point.
Absolutely. It's just like the rest of the sheets that they're taking care of from the massage table. So it's in the same cleanliness standard, using gloves to remove that, and then also remove the sheets all at the same time.
Thank you, Jennifer. Suzanne, thank you for that question. I know we've discussed that in other forums together, so that's great to get real life feedback from open properties. Shane, I want to come to you on the innovations that you're making in your spa now that you think you keep post-COVID. What those are, that'd be great to hear. Thank you.
Of course, I think Livia touched on, or even Viviana touched on it earlier. Ours is really in the evolution of the staff. When you guys mentioned earlier about that the team is coming together and it's not one person's sole responsibility. Well, we've kind of already, you know, COVID just helped us push kind of in the right direction. We had already kind of adapted to that mentality probably about a year ago, where the lines of concierge or reception versus locker attendants were blurred a long time ago. And we, over the last year, we've actually been hiring to that. So that's something we're going to continue in the future, where it makes more sense from a service perspective to have someone that could walk the guest directly back and do all the duties of the locker room attendant. So that's something we started doing again a year ago, and we will continue to do it in the future. And it just, with the staffing levels we're at now, we're almost forced to do it. So it just made it easier to kind of continue that pattern.
So I know we've all talked about flexibility and adaptability, Shane, which you're referring to. Have you modified the job descriptions to also include, we expect that level of adaptability from our associates when they come on board?
Of course, actually, it's even gone further to where there's a whole new job code, and that's when our employees are being brought back, if and when. that's the new job code that they'll have to agree to work under. The irony is, again, like at this spa, the job code existed probably about 6 months ago, but at this spa, we were already training almost a year ago to do this practice anyways.
And I know people are very fearful of change right now. So when you introduced this new concept, how did your team respond to that?
The current team that was already there in those positions were kind of like, oh, are we going to have to learn? At the time, we weren't making it a mandatory requirement, but obviously moving in the future, we will be doing that. So I think they're open to the idea of learning something new. It's just more the unknown of, can I do it? And we just have to give them the confidence and the tools to be able to be successful.
And Shane, just to clarify, are you a union or a non-union hotel?
We are non-union.
Okay. That may shift in a different type of environment based upon those things. But I just want to say that because we do have union hotels on the call sometimes, so just to make sure that
course.
Clarify.
And I think unions will find it a little more difficult, but at the same time, depending on the status that their employees were furloughed into, it might be an opportunity to redefine those guidelines.
That's great, thank you. So I have a question that's not on our prepared questions, but you should be able to answer, and I'll come to you, Jennifer, first on this question. In this time, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished as a leader that makes you feel happy and positive walking into your spa every day?
I think that the thing, whether I'm here at this new spa or just previous spas, what makes me most proud is the team that I work with. And even in the very short time that I've been here, less than a month at this point, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the team that we have here. We have a lot of longevity. The spa's been open since 2004, I believe. And there are employees that have been here for 15, 16 years. So, and they are very open and excited and receiving me very well and giving me good feedback, which, who doesn't love some positive feedback as well, and helping me along. I have to say, learning names with masks on is really hard. I feel like I'm going to start all over again when the masks come off, whenever that happens, because now I'm going to see a whole new person. I'm going to be like, who are you? But I have to say what I'm most proud of is definitely the team and how they've all come together, whether it's the coordinators and the flexibility. It really, it's very cliche, but the hashtag, we're all in this together, truly, I definitely feel it. And I feel it as a new leader coming in with this team. And it really excites me. It gives me great promise and excitement going forward for the future. And, however long this new normal is, and hopefully we can move forward at some point, but I feel very positive about it all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. Viviana, same question for you. What are you most proud of as you walk into your spa every day as the leader?
To be part of this industry, 100%. Like, I'm hands down super proud of being part of the spa community. The fact that it is uncertain times, but I never felt alone. Like, thanks to, for example, ISPA organizing these amazing webinars where we can learn from each other. Because I watched before I reopened, and I got amazing tools, tips and tricks from others, experts on the field. And here in Toronto, where I am, we have like this circle of spa directors as well. And we were like, so how are you doing this? And how can we do that? Because we know if we are together, we're strong. And I'm very proud of that. Like, I'm very proud of be part of this industry where it's wellness. And wellness is about how do we share, how do we take care of each other, how do we take care of ourselves, and how do we take care of our industry. And I think the fact that we're coming together, we care about how can we raise the standard for our industry together. Oh, that fills my heart with joy. Definitely, I'm in the right industry.
You hit it on the head. Jeremy from Mandarin, when we began putting the toolkit together, said, we as an industry succeed together or we stumble together. And I think what you just said exemplifies that we have to work as a unit. And You know, our president, Linda McNeese, always says we have to fly in formation as an industry, which can be challenging sometimes. We all have different needs and different businesses, but we do have to work as a unit, as one global industry. So that makes me happy that you say that, because that's my motivating factor every day for getting up and doing what I do, is to keep us aligned as an industry across, not just in my company, which is fantastic, but we all are here together. So yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, same question for you.
I couldn't agree with more what Viviana said. You know, I think I keep doing that throughout this call, but you know, the industry has so many resources, from ISPA to, you know, Jeremy, to even just friends that you reach out to and say, what are you doing different? I know I speak to some of my counterparts in Dallas, you know, at least once a month, just to see how things are going up, just, you know, maybe 300 miles north of us. And we're always so receptive to welcome each other and to check in with each other. And I think that not only gives me pride in the work that I do, but also it fills my heart that people are so receptive to not necessarily looking at each other as competition, rather just a shoulder or a foot to lean on when you need it. You know, we have great leadership at our corporate office that try to keep us connected, even though they were furloughed. So, I mean, there's so much information and people you can reach out to and talk to that, I don't know, it gets me up every morning to come to work and have a great day. And I think I try to reciprocate that to my staff, and luckily enough, I feel like again, going back to the teams, I have a great team that really, it's almost where I'm at the 25% now. It's one of those things where I'm like, do I bring in more people, even though we can? Because it's like, we have such a great bond right now and a great chemistry that will another person affect that? But every person I've brought back since day one has kind of made it that much better. And of course, I still miss seeing those other people. So it's like, I try to connect with them via email or via call, but at the same time, it's like, you miss that engagement. And I love the fact that we have so much in our industry.
I'm going to come to you in a minute, Livia, but Shane, you said something that I think bears repeating. You know, you have 25 people who you've brought back, and you've been able to establish a culture with those 25 people. And so as you start bringing people back in, them to buy into, build, extend the culture, and reinforce the culture. And I haven't heard anyone talk about culture yet, really, but I think that's really important to highlight, that we're building new cultures within our organizations, so that when we bring people back in, we want them to blend in and marry into that culture. What is your thought on that, Shane?
I think when I make so we started with 3 people initially, the first week we were reopening, and we've since grown, obviously. And every time I make that call, the first thing that has to clear the call basically is, okay, what is the new guidelines and expectations? And you know, I try to obviously, you know, make it more fun and talk to them about how things are going in their personal lives to kind of, for lack of a better word, butter them up. But at the same time, you know, we're setting the expectation of, this is what we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future, and this is what has to be done every day. And I always reiterate from the first 3 that started, like, how receptive they were and just excited to get back and you know, touching people and talking to people, that it's gone really well, and that to make sure that they're in the right mindset to kind of return back into this environment and be prepared to kind of be re-energized and get back to it. And every single person I've called back has been really receptive and really engaged, and almost, I'm getting calls where I wish I could bring more people back, but I haven't got that permission yet. But you know, they're like, when am I going to be called? Because I think amongst each other too, they're talking to say everything's been so awesome and what we've been doing, that more and more are feeling less anxiety and more excitement to rejoin the team once we're ready to do so.
That's great. And you know, the therapist and the associates who are working are our best ambassadors to the people coming back, because they do talk, they do share what's happening in real time. Livia, same question for you. What are you most proud of when you walk into Palmetto Bluff Spa every day?
I would have to echo what Viviana and Shane and Jennifer have also said, it is the team, it is the culture, but what is shining through so bright right now is the passion of everyone on this team. It just makes me so proud. They come in every day just with such a great attitude, and it really flows through to the guest experience. And what they're doing right now in the midst of all things that are, scary and potentially, dangerous, they're coming in so brave, so focused, and just really having this passion for creating an amazing guest experience and creating an amazing environment for us to all move through this together in. And that makes me extremely proud. And on top of that, what we're really committing to here to, show respect and appreciation for our teams is an associate wellness program, which is something that's extremely important to us right now. We know what, everyone, regardless of what position they're working in a property, is going through as far as changing and trying times. And, we've had so many people on our team put their hands up saying, yes, I want to teach a yoga class, or yes, I want to do chair massage for, the housekeeping team. It's just really that passion, again, for internal guests as well, just taking care of each other and making sure that we're healthy, and so that we can show up with that passion for our guests, which is what they do. And that just, it makes me really proud.
I hear a lot of, amongst the four of you and for myself, a lot of gratitude for what people are doing, the extraordinary things people are doing as we're doing as an industry, as our associates within our operations on a daily basis, and that's important. Viviana, a question for you, and maybe our final question depending on your answer. What are you doing for your own mental wellness? This has been a tough few months for all of us. So what are you doing to keep yourself mentally happy and whole during this time?
Thank you. First, it was to recognize the fact that I work in an industry and I am passionate about this industry, but I don't practice as much. So that was the first step, that I have to say, okay, just stop. And now it's a perfect time, because there is always the excuse, I'm busy, or I have kids, or the kids, or something else. There is an excuse always, right? So it was the time this time came as a perfect opportunity for me to stop, slow down, and be kind to myself. So what I'm doing is I'm investing more time. I used to do a lot of yoga, so I'm back to my yoga practice, back to my meditation. Like, it's just back to everything else that I was missing. And I also found a few new practitioners, holistic practitioners in the city. So I'm going to experience these new therapists as well. So investing a lot more in myself, for sure. More time in myself.
That's great. Shane, coming to you with the same question. What are you doing for your mental health and well-being at this time?
I know it sounds cliche, but to be honest, like my drive is created by the engagement I have with my team. It sounds kind of corny, I know, but it really is. Being at home with my kids was great, but at the same time, seeing my team busy and knowing that they are able to provide for their families and be able to come to work and do it in a safe and efficient manner, like, that's what gets me up, to come to work every day. And I guess the best way I'm able to, improve my mental wellness is I try to at least once, twice, 3 times a day, because we're on 2 levels, try to go down the lower level when I know they're at lunch break, and just check in and lack of a better way of saying it, BS with them to see how they're doing and make sure everything's okay. And, going into this whole reopening, I know we talked about PPE and stuff like that, but, one of the things that I learned over the first couple of weeks is that you really don't know what you need until you actually get in there and start doing it. So for the properties that haven't reopened, don't be so concrete or black and white and saying, this is the way we're going to do it, even though there's some great tools and resources out there. Anyone that knows that any spa that I've worked at over the years, that I believe in collaboration and finding out what works for my team, but also still meets the expectation, really has proven dividends over the last couple of weeks. And we've definitely adapted to things in a way that was driven by them more than my my ego, I guess, or my righteousness to say I'm the leader and I should come up with the rules and guidelines. They really came to me and told me what worked and what didn't. And that engagement with your employees really is what keeps my mental capacity to a great well-being.
Thank you for that, Shane.
Welcome.
Jennifer and Livia and Viviana, we're actually at the end of our time today. I want to thank you guys so much for this wonderful discussion. And thanks to all of you who attended here on Zoom and on Facebook Live. I also want to give a big thank you to Cosmetic and Sonoma Lavender for their support of our town hall today. So if you take a look at your screen, you will see our giveaway winners listed there. And if you've won, a member of the ISPA staff will be in touch with you with more details. And finally, a couple of reminders about our upcoming ISPA virtual events. Our Chats with Product Pro series will be on Tuesday, August 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to focus on retail revenue boosters. And you can register for those Product Pro events at experienceispa.com. And if you've missed any of our conversations, you can find them on our iSpa's YouTube page and also on Facebook Live. On behalf of iSpa, myself, and our panelists, thanks again for a wonderful, wonderful conversation, and have a blessed, beautiful day, and be kind to yourself.